All right, today we're going to unlock a really powerful learning technique from Barbara Oakley's A Mind for Numbers. It's called chunking. And trust me, it can totally change how you absorb information.
So let me ask you something. Do you think it's possible to have a perfect memory, to recall every single detail, but still have absolutely no idea what's going on? It sounds like a total paradox, right? But as we're about to see, it's a very real problem. And there's no better way to understand this paradox than through the true story of a man who literally couldn't form these things called mental chunks. Let's dive into his story.
Okay, picture this. It's the 1920s, and a journalist named Solomon Shereshevsky is completely baffling his editor. Why? Well, while everyone else is furiously scribbling notes during the morning meeting, Solomon just sits there. When his boss finally asks him about it, Solomon's confused. Why would he take notes, he says, when he can just remember everything? And then, just to prove it, he recites the entire day's assignment word for perfect word. The guy had an unbelievable memory.
But here's the catch. Solomon's incredible gift had a huge downside. For him, the world was just this endless stream of disconnected details. He could repeat a story flawlessly, but if you asked him what it was about, he'd struggle. He could see all the individual trees, but he just couldn't see the forest. He was missing the mental glue that connects ideas.
So what was that glue he was missing? Well, the answer is the mental chunk, and that's the key idea we're going to unpack right now. Chunking is basically a mental leap. It's how your brain takes a bunch of separate pieces of information and binds them all together using meaning. So instead of a jumble of loose facts, you get one solid, connected idea. It really is the difference between a random pile of bricks and a strong, sturdy wall. And what's so cool is that a chunk isn't just an abstract idea. It's a physical thing happening in your brain. It's a well-worn neural pathway. So when you think a chunked thought, your mind is basically flying down a smooth, efficient superhighway instead of trying to hack its way through a dense jungle of disconnected details.
And this is why it's so efficient. I mean, think about getting dressed in the morning. You don't think, okay, now I pick up the left sock. Now I put it on my left foot. Now I grab the right sock. Of course not. You just think one simple thought, one chunk, get dressed. That single idea holds dozens of smaller steps, but you don't have to think about them. You just grab the main idea and go. Okay, so this all sounds great, right? But how do we actually build these mental superhighways for ourselves? Well, the book lays out a super clear 3-step blueprint. Let's break it down.
It all boils down to these 3 things. First, you need total, undivided focus. Second, you gotta actually understand the basic idea you're trying to chunk. And third, you have to practice. Not just to know how to use the chunk, but to know when to use it. And that first step, focus, is absolutely non-negotiable. Your brain just can't weave new neural patterns if it's being pulled in a million different directions at once. This means turning off the TV, silencing your phone, the whole deal. Focused attention is the raw material you need to build chunks. And then step 3, practice, is where the real magic happens. See, practice isn't just about mindless repetition. It's about seeing the bigger picture. It's what helps you understand where this new piece of information fits into the grand scheme of things. It's the difference between knowing a math formula and knowing which kind of problem that formula can actually solve.
So when you do this over and over, you're not just memorizing facts. You're building something way more powerful. You're building your very own mental library. Every single chunk you master is like a brand new book on the shelf of your personal knowledge library. And the more books you've got, the more resources you have to pull from when you're up against a really tough problem. You start seeing connections you never would have noticed before. You know, this isn't just some neat learning hack. It's the secret to deep understanding. As the Fields Medal-winning mathematician William Thurston put it, math is amazingly compressible. A really complex process, once you chunk it, becomes a single, elegant idea you can use in an instant. That compression, that's where the real joy of mastering something comes from. I mean, just look at a chess grandmaster like Magnus Carlsen. He isn't sitting there calculating every single possible move on the board. No way. He's accessing a huge internal library of chunked patterns from thousands of games he's played. He recognizes a situation on the board and instantly knows the best responses. Not because he's a human calculator, but because he's a master librarian of chess. Ultimately, this is what chunking does. It transforms you from a novice who has to painstakingly follow a set of instructions into an expert who just sees the solution, almost intuitively. It's the difference between following a recipe and being a chef who just feels what the dish needs.
But here's a warning. On your path to building this amazing library, there's a really common trap that can make you feel like you're learning when you're actually just spinning your wheels. It's called the illusion of competence.
Oh, we've all been there. You spend hours rereading your notes, highlighting pages until they're glowing yellow. It feels like you're working hard. It feels super productive. But a lot of the time, it's what researchers call labor in vain. You're putting in the effort, but you're not actually building solid, useful chunks.
And this really shows the difference. On one side, you've got passive review, just letting your eyes glaze over the page. But on the other side, you have true knowing, which is built by something called active recall. That means closing the book and testing yourself. Can you pull the information out of your own brain without looking? That simple act of recalling, of generating the answer yourself, is one of the single best ways to build a strong, solid chunk. It's like you're testing the strength of that new brick wall you built. Every time you successfully pull an idea from memory, you're reinforcing it, making that neural pathway even smoother and stronger. So, the power to build this incredible mental library is literally in your hands. The only question left is, what concept, what skill, what idea will be the very first book you choose to add?